Good morning, class. Happy Thursday, April 16. Learning targets today is not just to understand the key ideas of John Locke, Thomas Hobbes, specifically about the state of nature, the social contract, but comparing and contrasting them, finding similarities and differences between them. Our agenda for today is first, I'm going to pose a question for you that I want you to think about for later. After that, we are going to do some final review, Hobbes versus Locke, state of nature versus social contract. We're going to review this worksheet together that you did yesterday that is graded, and there's going to be a review quiz, not graded, just for review, just for practice. I would like you to do that before your assignment. Your assignment is to do a quick write, Hobbes versus Locke. I'll explain that in just a second. Also, a final reminder that any missing or late work that is not turned in by tomorrow, Friday, 3 p.m., will be entered into the gradebook as a 0 with no opportunity to earn points back for that. So please, tomorrow and today, if you have anything missing or late, check PowerSchool. Make sure it gets done. 3 p.m. Friday is the deadline to turn it in to earn back any credit. First, I would like you to write this question down somewhere in your notes, but I don't necessarily want you to answer it yet. If you want to start answering it, you can, or jot down some initial ideas, go for it. But in order to understand your view of the state of nature, as well as the other people's views of the state of nature, you need to have an idea of what you think human nature looks like. So are people, humans, naturally good, or are they naturally bad? This is going to determine what the social contract looks like, how much freedom you think people should give up, and how much power you think a government needs to have. And also determine whether the state of nature is going to be complete, utter chaos, or if it's going to be a little bit better than that. I think this is an interesting question to ask right now, considering our current situation. Right now, people are being asked to give up quite a few freedoms in order to help protect life. How many freedoms should be restricted? How much power should the government have to enforce these restrictions? That's something that's being hotly debated and discussed right now. In fact, yesterday, many people drove to our state's capital, Lansing. They flooded the streets, they gridlocked the area as a form of protest against current Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, saying that she is going too far. Conversely, there are many people who are criticizing, for example, President Trump, because they don't think he's done enough. So it goes both ways, and I think it has a lot to do, and it's kind of a current example of how people view human nature. Are people naturally good or bad? Write that question down because you'll probably have to answer that question later. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But not today. So Hobbes versus Locke. Picture of Hobbes on the left, picture of John Locke on the right. There's two things we're going to review. One is the worksheet from yesterday. It is graded, but you need to make sure you correct it. So right now, go to Google Classroom, open up that worksheet, and get ready to correct whatever you got wrong. Also, I will be posting a Hobbes versus Locke review quiz. Please make sure you do that quiz just for practice before you do your quick write, which is what the graded homework is going to be. So first, the worksheet. The first part, Part A, Thomas Hobbes versus John Locke. For both Hobbes and John Locke, the state of nature looks pretty much like chaos. John Locke believes in something called the tabula rasa, which is like a blank slate. So every person has a blank slate, and what they experience as they grow up is what fills in the blank empty page, so to speak. Thomas Hobbes just thinks that what's happening is people are enduring chaos, things are crazy, there's no progress, there's no inventions, no creativity, it's every man for himself, and nothing's going to work. Both believe in a social contract between the government and the people under the government. Excuse me. The social contract is going to look different for each person. For Thomas Hobbes, the social contract is going to mean that the people, once they give up their freedoms to the government, will not be able to overthrow that government. Right? So it's not a two-way street, it's a one-way street. The government takes the power from the people don't get to take that back. And we'll talk more about what type of government is best according to Thomas Hobbes in the next one. For John Locke, it's the people and government involved. What the people are giving up is some of their freedoms, but in return the government's job is to protect their natural rights, specifically their natural rights of life, liberty, and property. So the exchange is government provides protection, and the people will give up their freedoms for the greater good to avoid chaos. So what that means is for the types of governments, Thomas Hobbes believes in an absolute monarchy. One ruler has all the power. Strong government rule is the only way to prevent the state of nature and a state of chaos, because he believes that humans are naturally bad. John Locke believes in more of a democratic style of government where people are more actively involved. And he believes that it can change. The government does not protect people's natural rights, life, liberty, and property. The people have the right to revolt, overthrow, and replace that government with something different that will protect their natural rights. His view about human nature is that humans are more naturally good. If nothing else, humans can go both ways, because there's this tabula rasa, empty slate, blank page. That blank page could be filled with positives or negatives. There's at least a chance for good, according to John Locke. For Thomas Hobbes, people are bad no matter what. They're bound to be selfish and brutish and corrupt at some point. So absolute monarchy for Thomas Hobbes, more of a democratic style for John Locke, and John Locke does think you can overthrow the government. Thomas Hobbes, once you give up that freedom, you don't get it back. You cannot change the government. For Part B, the matching, 1 through 4, all should be both. Realized natural rights are rights that people get from birth. Life, liberty, and property are examples of that. From birth means they exist both with the social contract and state of nature. They're always there. It's both. Question 6, no laws. That is the state of nature. Question 9, you are on your own. No laws, no government, no protection. That's the state of nature. 5, government. 7, laws. 8, compromises are made. And 10, rights are protected. All belong to the social contract idea. So the first 4 are B, 5 is SC, 6 is SN, 7 and 8 are social contract, 9 is state of nature, and 10 is social contract. 4 of both, 4 of the social contract. The only 2 of the state of nature are number 9 and then number 6. Part C. What's the connection? What you needed to do here was take these words, life, liberty, and property, and then the part below, explain what's their connection. Their connection is they are all natural rights that must be protected according to John Locke. Rights people are given from birth, born with them. Then you need to connect state of nature and war. You don't have to connect these with the other ideas on either side, just these two. Okay? The state of nature, no rules, no government, no laws, will result in a state of basically war and conflict. That's the connection. Government, social contract, how are these two connected? Well, the social contract is when people give up their freedoms to the government, and in return the government's part of the social contract is to protect their natural rights. Okay, some people tried to blend all 3 of these groupings of words together, and that's not what you needed to do. It was each one separately. One thing that a lot of people should have done that didn't was actually use the words in their response. That makes their description much clearer and the connection much easier to understand. For Part D, the last part, 1 and 2, both are agree. 3 is disagree. Thomas Hobbes and John Locke disagree because Thomas Hobbes would say, yes, they cannot be overthrown, but John Locke would disagree and say, no, the ruler doesn't have complete power. The ruler must protect the people's natural rights, and if the ruler and government doesn't, then they can be overthrown. So John Locke would disagree with this, Thomas Hobbes would not. So 3 is disagree, and your explanation for why, because John Locke believes there is not absolute complete power, and government can be overthrown if necessary. If you have any questions on this worksheet, let me know. Otherwise, yeah, just make sure it's corrected. Pause the video if you need to. I want you to have the right answers for later, whenever we have quizzes and tests coming up. So second thing you will need to do on Google Classroom, this will get posted. Oh, I'm in my civics class. We'll go to 6th hours. Your review quiz will get posted not right at 8, but it looks like at 8:15. So for, I'm guessing all of you, it'll be posted by then. Please make sure you do this quiz. Once again, it is not graded. It's just review and practice. You can use this information. You can use this information from the worksheet. You can use the notes we've taken to help you do your assignment, which is to answer this quick write. This quick write is due today, 3 p.m. Whose ideas do you agree with more? Thomas Hobbes or John Locke? So first, make sure you understand how their ideas are different and how their ideas are similar. But you can't say you agree more with one when they both think the same thing. So know their similarities and differences. You may use the quiz worksheet and notes to do this. This quick write is not going to get posted until 10 a.m. today. That's just to give you enough time to review the worksheet, do the review quiz, review the notes, and not rush into doing the quick write. Because I think there's a few of you that are maybe rushing a little too much to get work done. Take your time, do it well. What you need to do is tell me whose ideas you agree with more, Thomas Hobbes or John Locke. You need to give 2 specific examples and reasons. So explain using 2 of these people's specific ideas. Explain how or why you agree with 2 of their ideas. At least 6 sentences to explain it, and use appropriate paragraph form. So your first sentence is the thesis that clearly states which person you agree with. Use transitions. My first example, first, also, another, my last example. Use those words and phrases to connect ideas. And then your last sentence should be a conclusion, which just restates what your claim is, Hobbes or Locke. This is a classwork grade. Again, it is due 3 p.m. today. Final reminder, all missing and late work is due tomorrow by 3 p.m. Otherwise, it goes in the 0. If you would like any extra help tomorrow, please let me know. I'd even be willing to set up a Google Hangout or Zoom meeting with you if that was necessary, but reach out first. Let me know if you have questions. Have a wonderful weekend. Talk to you next week.